Yesterday, with the February update, DICE launched their co-op segment of Battlefield 5 called Combined Arms. It's been an element that's been a long time coming. It was first mentioned within the reveal livestream last May, and then subsequently it was confirmed as a post-launch addition to the game, despite many people thinking it would be included at launch. Now, I've spent my time yesterday and today playing through it, and I've collected my thoughts into this video. First of all, let's just tick off what Combined Arms is, what it does, and what it includes. In this first update, the mode brings 8 different scenarios across 4 maps included in the Battlefield 5 multiplayer. The maps are Arras, Twisted Steel, Hamada, and Rotterdam. And the scenarios include Assassinate, Eliminate, Destroy, and Steal. The mode, being a co-op setup, can be played with up to 4 players, but it scales down to solo play as well, and that's what you're going to see in the background of this video today, and I will touch again on that point later on in the video. You collect XP in the mode affects your stats, and you can complete weapon assignments as well. It's all linked right back into the main company progression included with Battlefield 5. So then, with all that in mind, I'll get straight on into my opinion here. Combined Arms isn't a mode I'll be spending much time playing because I don't think it's been built for a player like me, somebody who's already comfortable with multiplayer and understands the mechanics of a Battlefield game. I think this segment of the game is being pitched as a way to run new or novice players through some of the multiplayer maps, giving them a chance to play around with different weapons and take down enemy AI bots in an environment where they're unlikely to be challenged too much, so they feel comfortable. They can squad up with up to 3 of their friends and attempt the scenarios alongside them, and those players might be more experienced, and that player will end up having a better time overall. This is opposed to them just jumping straight into the multiplayer and potentially not understanding what they're supposed to do and having a bad experience in the first match that they play. This is how I think Combined Arms is being positioned by DICE, rather than the structured, mission-focused co-op that was present in Battlefield 3, the last game in the franchise to feature a co-op mode. Even though I won't be spending much time here in Combined Arms playing these missions through, I do understand the value of having them in the game. There will always be players who are new and don't want to immediately jump into the multiplayer where they might feel out of their depth. They've got a place to ease themselves in and experience some of the gameplay with their friends if they choose to squad up. However, my main issue with Combined Arms and the way it's being presented is that it's arriving to the game 4 months after launch. Surely if you wanted to offer new players an option to ease themselves in, help them learn and understand the mechanics they'd be using in multiplayer, it would have been best to make sure the game launched with that offering, and potentially even mandated the playthrough of some of these scenarios before that player could enter the multiplayer experience. Apex Legends, which launched just over a week ago, has a training function that you have to complete before you're able to jump into a multiplayer match for the first time. This is so that vital elements of the game can be shown to the player, they can experience what happens, and then they can use that knowledge in their first few matches. For Battlefield 5, we're now 4 months further down the line, and whilst there will still be new players coming into the community and trying the game for the first time, I'd argue they will be far less in number than those who would have been new in November, when the game launched. And what you've got now is a game that's 4 months old, full of players who are already very competent with the mechanics of the game, and they far outweigh the new players coming in. Now, a mode like this, which appears to offer some form of tutorialization, it isn't going to engage the players already playing Battlefield 5 that much at all, and with less new players coming in than there would have been at launch, the audience for this is not the audience I think it was intended for. As I said earlier, I can see the value that Combined Arms adds for certain players, but I'd argue that those players were joining the game in November, en masse. But now they're not. We're past the launch phase, and naturally the vast numbers of new or novice players will be much lower now. Combined Arms has arrived 4 months too late for the audience it was intended for. That audience has now changed, and overall, its addition has been met with disappointment, and I'd even say slight anger. Now, Combined Arms does have a couple of other issues as well, and I want to list those here. First of all, there's no matchmaking for the mode. If you're trying to play the mode with teammates, but none of your friends are online or available at that point, then unfortunately there's no function to queue up and play the mode with randoms, which I think is a big missed opportunity here. With the scenarios having easy, medium and hard difficulties, there is potential for replayability, but that's lost when there's no function to ensure that the mode is being played as it was intended to be played, which is of course cooperatively. Playing one of these scenarios solo is fine, it functions, but you can immediately tell that you're not playing the mode the right way. Enemies are spread out across large areas, indicating it would be better if a couple of people were trying to take them down at the same time. If you go loud with your guns in solo, pretty much all of the AI in the area just focus on you, and they run towards you in a little herd, and that feels kinda cheap. If you were playing with others, then obviously these enemies would split up between you and attack you separately. When you're playing solo, it does feel as if it wasn't really considered that people might have to play solo, since there's no matchmaking to compensate for the times that friends might not be around for you to play with. That hurts the overall experience, and it certainly didn't inspire me to try all the scenarios again after I'd completed them once. And also, just to add to that potential lack of thought behind solo play, because you can choose a class when you spawn into the scenario, if you don't choose one with health or ammo, you are going to run out unless you can start running loops of locations, collecting enemy dropped ammo pouches, or score enough points to call in a supply crate. The mode inherently relies on players working together, but again, since there's no matchmaking to support playing with randoms if your friends aren't around, solo play just doesn't quite fit. It's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. For this mode to improve, matchmaking needs to be implemented. Something else, the ambience and the atmosphere is a bit balked during the starting cutscenes. The voiceover is giving backstory to the scenario, but there's almost zero ambient sound playing and only a very faint music track playing in the background. Now, something tells me this is unintentional, and I wouldn't be surprised to see DICE issue some sort of statement saying it's a bug, but again, it cheapens the experience, and it takes you out of that potentially quite immersive moment. The voiceover doesn't seem to line up properly with the cutscenes either, and it overlaps with your character selection screen, and it even overlays subtitles over that screen UI as well. It just doesn't feel very polished. And as I said earlier in the video, Combined Arms affects your stats. Now, this point isn't really too much of an issue for me, but I know that some people do really care about this. Your kills are recorded and your deaths are recorded, and with you killing way more enemies than you dying, this inflates your kill to death ratio. It's almost official stat padding here in Combined Arms. You can also complete weapon assignments in Combined Arms as well, which means for those really hard mastery assignments, like getting 10 headshots whilst prone using a bipod with a sniper rifle in one round, it's kind of this sleazy way of working around that difficulty. The point of those assignments is they're meant to be hard, but playing a co-op mission on easy will help you unlock a lot of those last few weapon skin parts. Again, it just doesn't really feel like that was thought through properly. You also get rewarded with company coin for completing missions on different difficulties, which I'm absolutely fine with, by the way, but you don't seem to actually get the company coin after a certain amount of completion, so I think that's also bugged as well. Looking at things with a wider scope then, I have to conclude that Combined Arms would have been better received and more relevant if it had launched when the game did, back in November. It could have been properly pitched as a way to get yourself into the multiplayer environment, but without the threat of constantly being killed and the frustration that that can cause. However, with it being deployed 4 months after launch, the audience I believe it was intended for isn't there in the numbers that it could have been, and it's now arriving in front of an audience who will not appreciate it for what it is. It's not built for players who really know what they're doing. But at least for all new players out there is now an environment that simulates a multiplayer match without the constant dangers, so you can go and learn the ropes if you need to. It's very likely the case that Combined Arms was pushed to a post-launch content update because it wasn't seen as critical for the launch of the product, or it just simply wasn't finished. Whatever the case may be, I think DICE missed the mark with this one. But there you are, that's my opinion on Combined Arms. Thank you very much for watching today. Make sure you leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. I'll be interested to know what you think. Combined Arms really isn't for me, but I do understand the value of it for other players. So give me your opinions down below in the comments section. Let me know what you're thinking. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any Battlefield 5 videos I post, and click the little notification bell next to that and turn on notifications if you want to know a video has gone live the moment I post it. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.